have discussed about previous questions from the section of drama and poetry. So with this video, we will start with the previous questions of fiction. So this is the part 1 of previous questions from the fiction. So I have, like I said about poetry, from fiction 2, there are a lot of questions are asking, especially from the age of Victorian, modern and postmodern. So these are the flourishing periods of more or less every other genre, but especially about fiction, drama, and from postmodern and modern age, from poetry, from drama, from what we say fiction or non-fiction, many questions are asking from. So you have to learn modern, postmodern ages with more serious, okay, contemporary ages especially. So let's move on without wasting time. So let's see the first question. Yeah, the first question is, Albert Camus borrows the following epigraph to his novel The Plague from. So Albert Camus, he is a leading contemporary writer, and not only he has written some novels, fictional works, but he also has composed some dramas as well. Balcony is one of his famous work, and Albert Camus actually borrowed epigraph from one of these works that is given under as option. So the epigraph that he borrowed is here is given here too. It is as reasonable to represent one kind of imprisonment by another as it is to represent anything that really exists by which exists not. So we have to identify from which book, written by whom, Albert Camus has borrowed this particular epigraph for his novel The Plague. So James Hawke's The Confession of a Justified Sinner. So by reading the options, you can understand, actually you can learn whose work is particular novels or works. Jeremy Bentham's The Principles of Morals and Legislation, Robert Burton's The Anatomy of Melancholy, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. So the answer is Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. From this novel, Camus has borrowed the epigraph to his novel The Plague. The next question, which of the following is the most accurate description of Butler English? So there is a phenomenon, there is a kind of dialect known as Butler English. So which statement actually gives a correct description about Butler English? Okay, so many of you know this answer already, so let me read the descriptions, statements. A dialect of English spoken by the descendants of old Anglo-Indians. A pidgin, also called kitchen English, spoken by South Asians in Europe. A minimal pidgin that emerged during colonial times in the Madras Presidency. Any non-grammatical variety of English used by menial in Commonwealth countries. So the option C is the correct answer. Butler English is a minimal pidgin that emerged during colonial times in the Madras Presidency. So what is pidgin? Pidgin is a kind of variety of a language, like dialect. It's not a dialect even, it is not a full-fledged language, but pidgin is a kind of communicative tool that actually formed by taking some expression from two or more different languages when they come into contact. See, take the example of English people coming into India as traders and rulers. So they are speaking English and we are speaking our own native language and vernacular language. So we both can't understand each other. So some expression will be taken from the English language and some expression from the native language. So another form of dialect or another variety of language is formed for the purpose only to communicate. There won't be any written language for it, written form for this pidgin or any other forms, but only to communicate and exchange ideas. Pidgins are formed when two diverse communities with speaking two diverse language come into contact. So it's a pidgin that emerged during colonial times in the Madras Presidency. Next question. Identify the character, a black-eyed dwarf who constantly revealed a few discolored fogs that were yet scattered in his mouth and gave him to aspect of a panting dog. So this is a kind of a character, description of a character, and we have to identify which character in which novel is there in the options. So we have to identify which character in which novel is described like this. Okay, So Mulberry Hawk in Nicholas Nickleby, Regant in Little Dorrit, Mr. Crook in Bleak House, Daniel Quilp in the Old Curiosity Shop. So the answer is option D, Daniel Quilp in the Old Curiosity Shop, and Old Curiosity Shop is written by Dickens. Charles Dickens of Victorian age. The next work, Nicholas Nickleby firmly established Charles Dickens as a dominant novelist of his time and the book as an unrivaled literary phenomenon. To create the completion of book, a painter noted that there has been nothing comparable in him since the days of Samuel Richardson. Identify the painter. So, what he is asked, what is the question? Actually, after reading Nicholas Nickleby, the completion of during the time of the celebration of the completion of the book, a painter actually noted that this book actually contains nothing incomparable in him since the days of Samuel Richardson. So Samuel Richardson is the author of Pamela, and belongs to the age of neoclassicism, and Pamela is one of the first novels ever written in this world, and you have to identify which painter actually revealed this particular or noted this particular concept related to Nicholas Nickleby. So Leonard Woolf, David Wilkie, John Cruikshank, Ernest Dawson. So these are the options given here. So the correct option is option B, David Wilkie. So the next question we have here is Dash read Adam Bede with such pleasure that she not only keenly recommended to her relatives but also commissioned two paintings of scenes from the novel. So a person, it is referred as she, okay. So a woman read Adam Bede, and she was excited about this novel. And Adam Bede was written by George Eliot, tremendous novelist of the Victorian age. And Adam Bede, after reading that, she actually recommended that novel to everyone else, and also she commissioned to make two portrayals of the scenes from the novel. So actually commissioning two paintings of the scenes from the novel is a quite expensive thing. Who can do it? It is Queen Victoria. None other than Queen Victoria got excited after reading Adam Bede, and she commissioned two paintings of scenes from the novel. Next question, Evelina was published in 1778. So when Evelina was published in 1778 by Fanny Burney, which is the correct answer according suitable to this particular thing happened with Evelina. So when Evelina was published in 1778, which is correct, whether it is published posthumously or whether it used the name Fanny Burney as the author's name when it was published, or whether it is anonymously published without revealing the writer's name, or whether it published under a pseudonym. So the correct answer is it was published anonymously without revealing the author's name, okay, in the year 1778. Next one, which of the following is not indebted to the Gothic genre? Okay, so actually the question is which is not a Gothic genre in here, okay, which work does not belong to the Gothic genre, or which is not indebted or inspired, or which is not belong to the Gothic genre. So Tobias Smollett, Roderick Random. Tobias Smollett belongs to the neoclassical age, so definitely all other works and the authors, Anne Radcliffe, Matthew Lewis, William Bedford, all these are Gothic writers only, and their mentioned are also Gothic novels. So Tobias Smollett's Roderick Random is not indebted to Gothic genre, it is not related to Gothic genre. Next question, which of the two novels of Jane Austen have the spa town of Bath as primary locations? You have to identify two novels of Jane Austen in which she uses spa town of Bath as its primary location. So Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, Persuasion. So the answer is 3 and 4. In Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, Jane Austen have used spa town of Bath as the primary location. See, I'm going a little bit fast because if I explain too much, then the thing will go on, and it will be too lengthy for me to upload and do all the processes, and for you too it will be very tiresome and boring, so I don't want that. As a boy growing up in Squire Allworthy's estate, so immediately you have to remember by hearing Allworthy and the name Tom here, you have to understand and you have to identify this novel is the novel referred here is Tom Jones by Henry Fieldings. Okay. So as a boy growing up in Squire Allworthy's estate, Tom gets one of the following characters into trouble. Identify the character. So if you know the storyline of Tom, then this will be very easy for you to. And Tom Jones is referred by many critics as the first novel ever written in this planet, or in English especially. So Henry Fielding, he has written many more novels, and Tom Jones is his most eminent and popular work. So, Tom gets one of the following characters into trouble. Identify that character: Partridge, Black George, Nightingale, Bilfield. Actually, he had many problems and issues with Bilfield. Bilfield already and always considered Tom as a, as a outsider, and as a, antagonist, as a opposing party. So there were problems with Tom and Bilfield, but Tom gets one of the characters. Tom gets Black George into trouble when because of his some doings, okay, in the novel. And this Tom Jones the novel is a Bildungsroman novel. What is a Bildungsroman novel? Bildungsroman novel is a novel that explains the development of a character from his or her childhood to adolescence and the young ages. Okay, so such works are known as Bildungsroman novels. Next question is Thomas Nash's The Unfortunate Traveler is narrated by. So who narrates The Unfortunate Traveler by Thomas Nash? So whether it is Ben Litt, a Coy's Trappist, Jack Milton, an English page, Peter Marston, a Swan Calvinist, or Philip Fox, an English highwayman. Okay, so who narrates the story of The Unfortunate Traveler? So it was Jack Milton, an English page, is narrating the story of The Unfortunate Traveler by Thomas Nash. The next question, in Thomas More's Utopia. So Thomas More belongs to the age of revival. And in book 2, we know that he is elaborately explaining about utopia, the customs and cultural things that and the practices that they are doing, their life, and many things about utopia. And it also has a book 1 which serves as an introduction to book 2 of Utopia. So in Thomas More's Utopia book 2, the reader is find that in this new world there are a few mistakes in marriage, because so when we read Utopia, when More explains about utopian customs related to marriage, we find that as modern readers we find a few mistakes related to their marriage customs. So you have to find out which statement says that mistake. Okay, there is an extensive courtship period preceding the actual wedding. The family got evoked before finalizing the nuptials. There is a community get together where prospective husband and wife announces wedding plans endorsed by elders. Prospective husband and wife see one another naked before agreeing to the match. So this is the last one, is the thing happening there in Utopia that is not acceptable, that we consider as a mistake in marriage happening in Utopia, because the husband, those who are going to get married, they have to they have to stand naked before each other so that they could see their body fully and get an idea about you fully, and you fully agree to marry to that person after seeing that person. So this is one of the things that we feel that kind of mistake related to marriage customs happening in Utopia. Next question is Francis Bacon's New Atlantis is about a utopian state called. So Francis Bacon belongs to which period? The Elizabethan age of English literature, and he is famously known as a famous and great writer of essays. And he has written a particular work known as New Atlantis. And in New Atlantis, he is explaining about a utopian state. So this is about again a utopian kind of work. Utopian, it explains about the utopian place, and you have to identify from the given list which is that name that Bacon gives to his utopian estate in the work New Atlantis. Okay, whether it is Asgard, Avalon, Ben Salem, or Baltia. Okay, so the utopian state that Bacon says in his New Atlantis The name of the estate is Ben Salim. Next question. Yeah. Next question is, in which of his novels does Italo Calvino construct his narrative through a tarot packet of cards and reinterpret the Western canon, providing new versions of Oedipus Rex, Faust, Hamlet, Macbeth, and King Lear? See, all these works are, kind of epic works. And Italo Calvino, he is a postmodern novelist who writes metafiction and all. And he, in one of his narratives, he actually uses a tarot pack of cards. So tarot pack of cards contains many cards, and it actually used by prophecy sayers and such kind of persons that we have to, when we approach them, they will ask us to draw a card and they will read our fate by using that card and all. So but he actually using this card to narrate the whole story of the book, and he actually reinterpreted the Western canon and also provides new versions of the epic works known as such as Oedipus Rex, Faust, Hamlet, Macbeth, and King Lear. So, which is that work by Italo Calvino? The Castle of Crossed Destination, Our Ancestors, Invisible Cities, The Path to the Nest of Spiders. So, the correct answer is the Castle of Crossed Destination. See this, understand and remember this little information about Italo Calvino's work, The Castle of Crossed Destination, and all these works are also by Italo Calvino. Next question. Anthony Burgess's last novel, published in 1993, is called A Dead Man in Dead Forest. Who is the central character about whom the title refers? So we have to understand that the title character is a description about a man. So we have to identify Burgess is referring to which character, which person that is given in this option. So Sir Walter Raleigh, Sir Philip Sidney, Christopher Marlowe, Earl Southampton. So if you know the life story of Christopher Marlowe, then you will know this that the answer is Christopher Marlowe, because he had many deaths in his life, and he was actually, even though he was a great playwright, he could not survive because he died in a dual combat, because and during that time it was a custom that if you have a case, if you got arrested, you can opt for a combat, a duel, and also that's what happened, and he dies in such a kind of not exactly a kind of duel, but something went wrong, and some conflicts went broke, and actually he died in such a way because of his deaths. Okay, so the correct answer is Christopher Marlowe, and about which this title is referred, and it was written by Anthony Burgess, and it was published in the year 1993, and it is Burgess's last novel. So you got that much points from this question. Okay, next question. Identify from the following list those that cannot be called as war fiction. So you have to identify from this given list which are not called as war fiction. Okay, which are cannot be called as war fiction. A Modern Instance, Catch-22, The Age of Innocence, The Naked, and the Dead. So option 1 and 3, these are not called as war fiction. Okay, 1 and 3, A Modern Instance, The Age of Innocence. So these are not about war, and those are not war fiction as well. But Catch-22, The Naked, and the Dead, these are war fiction. So from that you have to learn that point too. So the next question we have here is about Ishiguro. The next question we have here is, which novel of Kazuo Ishiguro is narrated by a Japanese widow living in England and draws on the destruction and rehabilitation of Nagasaki? See, we all know that by the end of, or World War II ends with the nuclear bomb blast happened in Nagasaki and in Japan, right? In Japan, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So in which work of Ishiguro, in which Japanese widow who is living in England narrates the story, and novel actually draws the attention to the destruction and rehabilitation of Nagasaki. Okay, An Artist of the Floating World, The Unconsoled, A Pale View of Hills, When We Were Orphans. So the correct answer, which is suitable to this particular description of the novel, is A Pale View of Hills. Okay. Next question. Evelyn Waugh once explained that T.S. Eliot's poem 1909 to 1925 was marvelously good but very hard to understand. See, this was a comment made by Evelyn Waugh about T.S. Eliot's poem, that it was marvelously good but they were very hard to understand. Okay, so the most pessimistic novel Waugh wrote was called, and he owned the title too. So actually, Evelyn actually writes a novel. It's the most pessimistic or negative toned novel that she has ever written. Okay, and he has taken the title from one of T.S. Eliot's works only. So you have to understand from which work by T.S. Eliot she has taken and made that particular phrase of her novel's title, and that work is her most pessimistic novel. Okay, it is not only her novel, but it is the most pessimistic novel that she has written. Okay, so the first option is Black Mischiefs, Sweeney Among the Nightingales, Scoop, Morning at the Window, Prancing Nigger, Ash Wednesday from Ash Wednesday, A Handful of Dust from the Wasteland. So the correct answer is A Handful of Dust from the Wasteland. So she has made this particular phrase from the Wasteland as a title of one of her most pessimistic novel, actually the most pessimistic novel written by Evelyn. Next question is, which novel opens whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life or whether that station will be held for anyone else? These pages must show. It is not show, it is show. Okay. So which novel has this opening line? So it is simple as that. Tristram Shandy, Lady Audley's Secret, David Copperfield, Fitzbodile Confession. So the answer is David Copperfield. So in David Copperfield, we can see such an opening with this sentence. Next question. You can pause the video and you can read the question by yourself. That is real help for you, because you only listen to my voice and not seeing the questions and not reading the options and understanding what is there in the question, then I think that is not that helpful. But along with listening to me, you can pause the video and read the question and understand it. Okay. Haunted castles, strange noises, and an acceptance of the supernatural with all its trapping mark. So, haunted castle, strange noises, and supernatural things. In which kind of work, which kind of fiction we can find that? It's about Gothic fiction. It's a description that we can give to Gothic fictions. So, the answer is Gothic fiction. Metafiction are those kind of fictions in which a fiction is telling about the creation of a fiction, or something related to the fiction itself, not about something else. Some other story is not told, but about the fiction. It's about writing a fiction, about such kind of fiction creating process. The process of creating a fiction and writing a process itself is written as a fiction. Okay. So fantasy fiction will always tell about fantasy things, and all. Epistolary fiction are those fictions in which the action is progressed through the letters written by the characters in it. Okay. Next one. What does the title Morte d'Arthur? What is the title of Morte d'Arthur? And Morte d'Arthur is a famous prose work that belongs to the age of revival, written by Thomas Malory. Okay. Morte d'Arthur, the title means Death of Arthur. Arthur the king. Okay. Next one. Who made the comment that all modern American literature comes from one book by Mark Twain called Huckleberry Finn? See, this is a famous quotation. I have seen a couple of times this quotation is itself repeated in questions and asked who made this comment and all. So it was made by Ernest Hemingway, and Ernest Hemingway, he is a modern American novelist, and he tells that a Huckleberry Finn is written by Mark Twain. He belongs to the romantic age of American literature, and he says that all the American literature comes or sprouts from this particular work known as Huckleberry Finn, which is written by Mark Twain. Next work. Which of the following novels by Margaret Atwood depicts the historical event of the notorious murder committed in 1843? Okay, so in 1843, a notorious murder committed, and Margaret Atwood actually made it as a story. That historical event was taken, and she made it as a novel. So, which is that work? The Blinded Assassin, Alice Gray's Cat's Eye, Onyx and Creek. So, these are the works by Margaret Atwood only, and Alice Gray's is the correct answer. Next work. Which of the following character in Moby Dick falls overboard and turns insane as a result? See, Moby Dick is a work. It's an American novel by Herman Melville, and the narrator of the story is Ishmael. So the novel begins like this, like, call me Ishmael. So with that, sentence, the novel begins. And Moby Dick, what is the subtitle of Moby Dick? Moby Dick's subtitle is A Whale. Okay, a whale. So it's about mainly about a group of people. They are going for whale hunting, and the narrator Ishmael is the only one who survives after a certain atrocities and catastrophes happening in the sea. Everyone else dies. Okay, so who falls overboard and turns insane as a result? So it was Pip, the character known as Pip inside the novel. He falls overboard and turns insane as a result. Next question. In William Golding's Lord of the Flies, which of the following characters is put to death? Actually, Golding's Lord of the Flies is a great work, and in which as part of World War II, something happens, and because of a plane crash, some students, I mean some children, they are landed in an isolated not inhibited island, and they actually, after a certain period of time or immediately after their coming there, they started to adopt to live there, and they gradually and slowly they all went from their civilized kind of goes away from their civilized behavior and the etiquettes that they followed while they were living in that modernized civilized society. So William Golding, he basically says that, see, evil that we see, that we know, that evil is not that is outside us. Evil is inside us, as it is part of human being, because we are civilized, because we are living in such a society and circumstances. It is not coming out. But when we got a chance, like these boys got a chance to be and to live as uncivilized, kind of way of life, they actually chose for that, and they were dressing and they are doing all sorts of things that usually these uncivilized community people that we usually see to do. And it's like, when we get that kind of a chance to manifest ourselves, evil, all this uncivilized side of us, that will start to emerge. So, yeah, one of the characters in this novel is put to death. So, which is that character? It is Simon. Okay, Simon. Next question. Which one of the Alice Munro's short stories about the domestic erosions of Alzheimer's disease? So, Alice Munro has written about one of her novels, or one of her short story, not novel, one of her short stories about Alzheimer's disease, the domestic erosion of Alzheimer's disease. So, which is that short story? It is The Bear Comes Over the Mountain. The Bear Comes Over the Mountain, in which Alice Munro says about Alzheimer's disease. Next one. Using nonlinear narrative, this American novel expresses the psychic damage to a veteran World War II and shows how a measure of healing is attained through his acceptance of Laguna myths and rituals. Identify the work. So actually, an American novel. The question is about an American novel. It has a non-linear narrative structure, and the novel is telling about a war veteran, World War II war veteran, and his damaged psychic structure that he has. And after a certain period of time, he got a healing. To some extent, he got a healing by accepting the Laguna myths and rituals. So, which is that work? Which is that American novel that tells the story? Okay, Dread, Beloved, Ceremony, and Zone. So, Ceremony is the correct answer. Next question. How does women love open? So, what is the opening thing going on in Women in Love. So it is not about the correct sentence of opening of the novel, but what is going on when the story is opened. Okay, Women in Love is by D.H. Lawrence, one of the modern novelists. So the options are Rupert Birkin, Lawrence's alter ego, is taking a walk in the English countryside. So that is not the correct answer. The Bragwin sister Ursula and Gudrun are working and talking. So that is the correct answer. So option B, the Bragwin sisters Ursula and Gudrun are working and talking. So from these options you can have some some information about Women in Love. So Rupert Birkin is there as a character in Women in Love, that we don't know, even if we don't know the correct storyline of the novel, but still we can understand Rupert Birkin as a character is there, and he is known as Lawrence's alter ego. And the story is also about the Bragwin sisters Ursula and Gudrun. Okay. So in that way you can learn from the question itself. Simply reading and the question, the options and the correct answer, that won't make sense. But if you go and see the question and even learn from the question, from the descriptions and information and hints given in that question, that itself is a it's a source of knowledge and the source of material itself. In Women in Love, what is Winifred Peking's dog called? So a dog is there, Winifred Peking's dog. So what is its name? Its name is Lulu. Okay, the dog's name is Winifred's dog's name is Lulu. Next one. So these questions are from inside the novel. They are not even direct. So they are direct questions from inside the novel, inside the work. Identify the story for which E.M. Forster wrote the libretto for its opera version. So E.M. Forster, he has written The Passage to India, and also he has written aspects of novel and all. So E.M. Forster also explained about round and flat characters there in that particular work, and he has written a libretto for the opera version of a particular work, a particular novel. So which is that novel? So it is for Billy Budd, for the novel Billy Budd, he has written a libretto for its opera version, not for the novel, but its opera version. He has written a libretto. E.M. Forster has written a libretto version. Libretto for the opera version for the novel Billy Budd. Next question: Charles Dickens's House is pointed by critical of England. So in Bleak House, Charles Dickens is actually citing and criticizing one of the institutions that they have in England. Okay, so whether it is criticizing Privy Council of England or Court of Appeal of England or Court of Chancery of England or military courts. So in Bleak House, Dickens actually critical about England's Court of Chancery. Next question: which novel of Thomas Hardy begins with the somber description of Edon Heath? So Thomas Hardy's one of the novel begins with a description, a somber and very not enthusiastic description of Edon Heath, a place known as Edon Heath. So the correct answer is The Return of the Native. So all these works are by Hardy only. Jude Obscure, The Return of the Native, Far from the Madding Crowd, Under the Greenwood Tree. So all these works are by Thomas Hardy, and Thomas Hardy is a novelist, belongs to the Victorian age, but he lived up to see the First World War. Okay, he only dies after World War First. Okay, the next question is: which 19th century novelist expressed a wish to exterminate the race of Indians following the 1857 mutiny in India? So this is actually very ironic that I being an Indian reading this question, I also studying the novels written by this person. Okay, but still anyway we have to learn, since we are learning English literature. So which 19th century novelist actually expressed that? See, those who actually followed, those Indians who actually followed 1850, the first war of independence in India, they need to be exterminated. That their race need to be, not only them, but their race need to be exterminated. Who said this? It was Charles Dickens. He actually this kind of had a he had such an desire to exterminate the race of those who actually followed 1857 mutiny in India. Okay. The next question, in Fanny Burney's novel Evelina, eponymous heroine comes out in society in two locations. They are, so eponymous heroine means the title character. So here in the novel Evelina, title character is Evelina herself. So in two situations in the novel Evelina comes out in society in two locations, two actual places in England. So which are those two places? So the options here we have Bath, Bristol, Leeds, London. So in Bristol and in London, option D says that 2 and 4. So in Bristol and in London, we can see that in Evelina, the title character Evelina comes out in society in two locations known as Bristol and London. Okay, remember that. And Evelina is written by Fanny Burney. Pick out two Austen heroines from the following who are right-minded but neglected in the beginning, but gradually are acknowledged to be correct by characters who have previously looked down on there. So what is basically the question is about? Okay, so we have to pick two Austen heroines, that is two heroines from Jane Austen's novels that initially they got neglected from all the other characters inside the novel. Like from the beginning itself, they actually made comments correctly. They were correct in many sense, but everybody actually looked down on them and they got neglected initially. But later, this character realized that this person was correct from the beginning, and they started to acknowledge this character, and they started to give this character emerged as as an important one there. So you have to identify such two Austen heroines: Elizabeth Bennet, Fanny Price, Emma Woodhouse, and Anne Elliot. So the correct answer is 1 and 4. So Elizabeth Bennet belongs to the Pride and Prejudice, the novel Pride and Prejudice, and Anne Elliot. So these two characters, they got initially neglected by all the other characters, but later they got momentum and they got recognition by all the other characters, and they got acknowledged by them too. Next one. Next question is, from among the following, who are the Dashwood sisters in Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibilities? And when it comes to novel, you just cannot avoid whom? Jane Austen. See, Jane Austen of Romantic Age. And we have James Joyce and Virginia Woolf of Modern Age, Charles Dickens and Hardy in the Victorian Age, and many more are there. So I'm just figuring out the gigantic figures, okay? And questions are often coming from these persons' works and their personal life, okay? Don't skip them, at least cleverly read in Wikipedia about their novels, okay? So you have to identify two Dashwood sisters from the novel Sense and Sensibility. Elinor, Marianne, Mary, Amanda. So 1 and 2 is the correct answer, Elinor and Marianne. So those are known as Dashwood sisters in Jane Austen's novel Sense and Sensibility. Next, Samuel Richardson named his heroine Pamela after one of the characters in. So you have to identify why Samuel Richardson, getting inspired from which work Richardson actually named his heroine Pamela in the novel Pamela. Okay, whether he actually named after Pamela as Pamela because of Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queen of Philip Sidney's Arcadia, Venus and Adonis by William Shakespeare, Jeff Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. So it was because, and Pamela was one of the characters in Philip Sidney's Arcadia. Next one, William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying contains one of the shortest chapters in literary history. Which of these sentences is the chapter in its entirety? So actually, As I Lay Dying is a novel by Faulkner. Faulkner is a postmodern writer of America, and Faulkner actually wrote the shortest chapter, actually included the shortest chapter in the literary history in this particular novel, As I Lay Dying, and it only contains one sentence. This particular novel contains the shortest chapters in the literary history, and that chapter, that particular chapter of the novel contains only one sentence. Okay, that's it. So you have to identify that particular sentence that actually forms the entire chapter in the novel As I Lay Dying. So the sentence is, my mother is a fish. Okay, my mother is a fish. Next one. Which novel by Patrick White is based on the story of Ludwig Leichhardt, the Prussian naturalist who explored Australia in the mid of 1840s, in which White's fictional hero says when asked about navigation, the map I will first make it. So here we have to identify uh, the Australian writer Patrick White's novel, and the novel is based on the story of Ludwig Leichhardt, okay, who is a Prussian naturalist, and he explored Australia in the mid of 1840s. And when he was asked by the fictional hero, he said that about the navigation and all to explore Australia and all. He said that the map I will first make it. So you have to identify in which novel this type of an incident happens. The Tree Man, Ghost, Riders in the Chariot, Solid Mandela. So all these works are basically written by Patrick White only, who is an Australian writer. So the correct answer is here Ghost. So which tells the story of Ludwig Leichhardt. So remember that, who was an Australian explorer. He's not Australian, but he actually explored Australia in the mid of 1840s. Next question, who among the following is not a character in William Golding's Lord of the Flies? So you have to identify from the given list who is not the character. A character in William Golding's Lord of Flies. Ralph, Piggy, Jack are there, but Peter is not a character there. Next, who identified strangled articulateness as a theme in Canadian writing? So when a particular critic analyzed Canadian writing and its theme and styles and all, he identified that strangled articulateness is the major theme that we can find prevalently in Canadian writing. Who made such a identification? Okay, Margaret Atwood, Northrop Frye, Michael Odanche, George Kogawa. Actually, these people are Canadian writing, and Michael Odanche, he is a Sri Lankan Canadian writer, and Northrop Frye, you remember Northrop Frye? In criticism, we have learned about him. So he actually studied about archetypal criticism, and he belongs to Canada. So it was Northrop Frye who identified that strangled articulateness is the theme of Canadian writing. The next question, Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse as a tripartite structure. The three parts are named the following excerpts. So you have to find that. See, To the Lighthouse is a novel written by Virginia Woolf in the modern age. And in this work is divided into 3 chapters. You have to identify one from among the options that which is not a title given to either of the any of his or any of her chapters in the novel To the Lighthouse. So the sky is the correct answer. Sky is not a chapter's name in To the Lighthouse, the novel To the Lighthouse, but the first chapter's name is The Window, second chapter is The Time Passes, the third chapter is The Lighthouse. Actually, in The Window, they are actually planning there to go and visit a lighthouse. Actually, the characters are there in their young age in the sense they are children more or less, but their parents are there and they are asking for their parents to go and take them to the lighthouse and all, but they are planning but they never goes. So it actually covers more pages but only covers very little time, or when we consider the span of the novel, span of time discussed in the novel To the Lighthouse. But Time Passes actually holds the second part. Time Passes is actually holds a great time duration, but it actually I think 10 or 11 pages are there allotted to Time Passes, which is comparatively very low when we consider The Window, first part of the novel, The Window. Okay, in Time Passes the characters are not in that or they are not near this lighthouse, and they are living away. In the third part, the lighthouse, most of them, they come back to the house, and now the mother and the father is not there. I mean, father is there, mother is not there, and many people are there. Artists are there, philosophers are there. These people, they're, the Ramsay couple. So the father, their family name is Ramsay, and Ramsay couple. Mr. Ramsay is there, Mrs. Ramsay is not there, and she has died. Okay, so and they are starting a journey. They are actually going to visit the lighthouse finally, and while they have gone, Lady Briscoe is there, who is a painter, and she is making a portrayal, and whose portrayal she was making, it was Mrs. Ramsay. So I have seen a question from To the Lighthouse, in this kind of question I have seen. Okay, the next question. T.H. Lawrence's 1926 novel The Plumed Serpent is set in which country? So you have to identify the location of actions happening in the novel The Plumed Serpent by D.H. Lawrence, and it was published in 1926. So the answer is Mexico. In Mexico, The Plumed Serpent, the actions, the story of The Plumed Serpent happened, and the novel is written by D.H. Lawrence published in the year 1926. Next question. In Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, what does Mr. Brocklehurst accuse Jane of when he visits Lowood Lowood School? So actually, Jane, if you have read Jane Eyre, the novel by Charlotte Bronte, it's a fantastic novel. If you are interested, you must read it, because moving, and it actually influenced many more authors and novelists and critics to think about it, and explore many more ideas from this novel. So Jane actually, after her parents passed away, she was living with one of her aunt. And what happens after, that, she was sent to from there she was sent to a very notorious school, and she was bullied there. She got bullied there, and she was not at all happy there, but later she got adjusted. But Mr. Brocklehurst visited Jane once, and he said that Jane has a habit of lying. So he accuses Jane that, whatever she says, don't believe in her, because she has a habit of lying. Okay, she has a habit of lying. But actually, Brocklehurst, he was lying about Jane. Jane is such a nice girl, but Brocklehurst actually, he accused Jane. Next question. Next question is, the prelude to the novel Middlemarch makes a reference to the particular history of a remarkable woman. So in the novel known as Middlemarch, in its preface or prelude, we can see that it makes a reference to a remarkable woman of history. Who is that? So we can see that in the prelude to this novel Middlemarch, Saint Teresa got a particular reference as a remarkable historical woman. Saint Teresa got a reference there in the prelude to the novel Middlemarch. Next question. Which of the following objectives will not apply to Becky Sharp, a major character in Vanity Fair? So, Vanity Fair is a novel by Thackeray, William Makepeace Thackeray of the Victorian age, and Vanity Fair got its title from Johnson's Bunyan's novel Pilgrim's Progress. So in Pilgrim's Progress, Christian and Faithful, his friend Faithful, they both enter into a fair known as Vanity Fair, and many problems are happening there. So from that novel, from that work, Thackeray takes the title for his novel and made it as Vanity Fair. And in there we have two characters, and one of the characters' name is Becky Sharp. And Becky Sharp, she was ambitious, she was energetic, she was scheming, but she was not well born. That was her sole, negative thing according to her. In order to solve that problem of, taking birth in a low family, that, not a rich family, she actually used marriage as a tool for social high climbing the social ladder. Whenever she confronts a rich man that she could marry, she immediately woos and she immediately kind of started to do flirting and all, even though she doesn't like that person, simply to have riches in her life. Okay, so she was not well born. This adjective is not suitable, not applicable to Becky Sharp. Okay, and Vanity Fair is subtitled as a novel without a hero. Okay. The next question we have here: which of the following works of Daniel Defoe offered his readers as a collection of strange, surprising adventures? Actually, which of his novel is a collection of events that he says that he presents to that he offered to his royal readers as strange, surprising adventures, and the novels are also subtitled as strange, surprising adventures, which is that novel: Moll Flanders, Robinson Crusoe, Roxana, Captain Singleton. All these four novels are written by the neoclassical novelist Daniel Defoe, but the answer for this question is Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe offered his readers as a collection of strange, surprising adventures, and the novel also subtitled as Strange, Surprising Adventures. Next question: Richardson's Pamela had its origin in. So Richardson got inspired to write a novel known as Pamela, especially an epistolary novel known as Pamela, as one of the pioneering novels in the English literature. So what prompted him to do that? When that incident you have to identify from what this idea of Pamela originated in Richardson's mind. Okay, the real case of a woman born to lower middle class parents, an elementary letter writing manual, the general plight of English women, the suggestion of a friend to defend middle class values. Actually, Richardson was commissioned to write an elementary letter writing manual. So from that only Richardson was prompted, and Richardson got the idea of writing such a novel titled as Pamela, about the character herself. Next one: who narrates Heart of Darkness? Okay, who narrates Heart of Darkness? Whether it is Marlowe, director of companies, or Kurtz, or an unnamed narrator. So the answer is an unnamed narrator. See, of course, for most of the part of the novel, we find an unnamed narrator is narrating the whole story, and Marlowe is listening to that story too. And Kurtz is the character that we can find the presence of Kurtz throughout because everybody is talking about Kurtz, and Marlowe is so excited to meet Kurtz finally, but we only see Kurtz, that Marlowe is meeting Kurtz on his deathbed and he dies, nothing else. But Kurtz is a very fantastic character that we can see, but I would like to say that Marlowe is also one of the speakers or narrators of the story, because some places in the novel we feel that Marlowe is narrating the story, okay, towards the end and all. Okay, so but generally an unnamed narrator is narrating the story of Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Next question: in Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, Christian and his friend Faithful cause a commotion at the Vanity Fair for many reasons. So like I said earlier, in Pilgrim's Progress, Christian is actually making a pilgrimage to the celestial world, and he gets many companions in that journey, and many actually diverts him from his goal, and many actually makes him come back to his rightful path that leads to the celestial world. So Christian got a friend known as Faithful before he entered into Vanity Fair. They both of them enter into the Vanity Fair going on there, and that was actually not expected of them, because that is while they deviated from their rightful path, they entered into the Vanity Fair and they got attracted there, and they actually created a commotion there in that Vanity Fair. So what is the possible reason? Which of the following statement is not true of their appearance at their fair? So while they were appearing themselves in that fair, what is not true? Which statement is not true about their appearance at the fair? So whether they dressed differently than the other fair goers, they speak the language of the Bible at the fair, they sample every entertainment at the fair, they refuse to look at the merchandise at the fair. So the correct answer is they speak the language of the Bible at the fair. So that is not true. So these are the first 50 previous questions that I would like to discuss here. So if you find that is helpful, please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like my video, because that means a lot to me, because that will encourage me to create such contents again and again in my channel. And that is a great encouragement for me. And also you share this video if someone is there who also needs such a kind of contents related to also studying for UGC NET English Language and Literature. So thank you for listening to my video, and you can find me in these platforms. Definitely go and visit my website known as www.hype.in. From there you will find, at least when you take the free trial, you will have a look at, you can have a look at what all things are provided there. Even if you are a self learner, then that will help you in many ways to find out notes and all, to find out the keywords to about which authors and about which topics that you have to study. And you can find that from 2004 onwards I have given previous question papers for you to attempt live, and also practice question papers and know your marks instantly once you finish the exam. And also you can join a WhatsApp group that is there. I have given the link in the description box. Click that link and join the WhatsApp group for more updates and news and notes related to UGC NET. And also you can follow me in Instagram for reels and post and many more study cards related to UGC NET English as well. And also you can call me and WhatsApp me in this number for any kind of regarding UGC NET English. So thank you for watching my video. Let's meet in another section of video in my channel. After that, thank you. Bye bye.